There's Jimmy. Okay, great. We have good attendance today, and so I don't know what I'm saying right now. It's one of those mornings. Thanks everybody for joining. We had Community Sync last week. I missed that one, so I didn't get quite caught up on everything that was covered, but welcome to another edition. And we have a few demos that we'll go through, or a couple demos, some feedback we'd like to receive on some ongoing projects. We'll look at the board really quickly, talk about some help wanted items, and then we'll open it up to the floor. I think we have a question from Martin that he's posted about, specifically about GraphQL, that we can discuss a little bit, and then we'll see if there's anything else on the line, and we'll kind of wrap from there. I think first in the shoot we have Stephen, who wanted to talk about some of the work he's doing with Danger.
Do I plug in to share?
You can plug in.
Yeah, I'll probably just be easiest. Yeah, so I wanted to show off some stuff. I know we already have Danger running in the repo right now. If any of you guys have contributed in the past, you've probably seen the PWA Studio bot, or maybe you haven't. Maybe your pull requests have been perfect and you didn't get yelled at or anything. But I wanted to address something that we have on the team have sort of identified as like something that we can automate, which is okay, my screen's up. I think that means people can see it, right? So our pull request template that we have when you go to create a new pull request is pretty straightforward, and we expect people to kind of fill it out to the best of their abilities. But sometimes people delete sections, or they don't complete a section, or they don't add the right labels, and I can't show you all that template, or actually I can just show it in my thing. But so what I've added is just a Danger file to test against the PR metadata, and that's basically just stuff that we would be checking for, and it makes it so that the developers and the people reviewing the PRs don't have to come in and say, hey, can you add this label, or hey, can you add a description? It just automates checking for it, and if you haven't provided it, it asks for it. So the code is actually kind of cool. If you're interested in Danger at all, this is just kind of a fun experiment for me. But I have a few jobs. One like checks to see if you had the word to do in your PR body at all. So if you had one, then maybe you left something open that you needed, or something that you need to resolve. So it'll just scan for those. It'll make sure that you've not left out any sections. So if it finds that it's like one of the headers is missing, or that one of the default text that we leave in there is still there, that means that somebody didn't fill out the description, or they didn't actually tag the related issue, or they didn't fill out verification steps for us. And these are just things that we would have to ask for anyways in the course of reviewing the PR. So it just it just automates this, and then it'll just spit out some helpful things like, hey, you're missing this header, please add it back, or you're missing some information, fill out that section. And then we link to that template there you go, if you need to start over filling out your template. Next, I have a job that verifies whether the issue itself is open. So it'll check against it'll look for the word closes, because GitHub has that linking thing where if you type in closes hashtag issue number and then the PR gets merged, it'll automatically close the issue. And so we use that to help sort of maintain our backlog. And we want to make sure that all PRs have linked issues. So if we don't find this word, then Danger will say, hey, please link an issue. Or if the issue that's linked is already closed, then we need to make sure we link to a relevant open issue. Next, something that we've identified in this latest release is that we want to make sure all of our PRs have version labels. And I don't think everybody that contributes can add labels to PRs, but we do have a section in there that's like, that's like, hey, propose a label for the change type, and you can say this is a major, minor, or patch change. And we actually have documentation out there that defines what exactly those mean. Maybe it'd be helpful for me to update the template with that information. But basically, if you don't select one, or if you do select one, then one of us can come in and apply the label. And that way, when we're trying to come up with the version number we're releasing next, or if James is trying to come up with documentation and identify all the breaking changes, he can just like filter on the major labels, for example, and then that makes his job a lot easier. And then of course it'll just fail if there's no version. And then finally there's project labels, and this is kind of cool. It'll scan all the changed files for you, and if it identifies that you've changed any files within like one of the sub packages, so we're a mono repo and you have like the Venier concept, you have Peregrine, you have Upward.js, and if any of those files are changed, it'll automatically apply that, like the label that's relevant. So that's this one, like package Venier concept. And that just helps us do more filtering so that at a glance we can see like, okay, what has this code touched? And that's pretty much it. Hopefully I'll get this wrapped up in the next couple of weeks, and then that's just one more thing that we don't have to worry about. So, automation, it's good stuff. Any questions about this or anything? Any feedback? I'd love to know if there's any of this that might seem a little bit overbearing or like too much. Well, the PR is open in the repo, so you guys are welcome to drop some feedback in there if you want, or message me on the community Slack.
All right. So up next, we don't have any questions for Stephen. We have had this ticket on the board for a few weeks, and we've been working on a couple of kind of infographic or overview type slides for PWA Studio. I think the main reason that we've been working on this is for two reasons. One, there are business users like product managers or project managers, I think, that come to the PWA Studio project and want to know at a high level, what is this thing? What are these new concepts that we're introducing, like Upward and Peregrine and even Venya, and how does that fit into the overall Magento ecosystem, right? And then there is a developer that comes along and wants to know at a more technical level how everything functions and works. And so I think the challenge that I had given Mr. Kalkoban initially was, hey, can we describe this in a single image where we can answer some of these high-level basic questions, and then as they want to know more information, they can obviously go to deeper down in our dev docs. So we've taken a couple cuts at what those graphics would look like. These are, I think, slightly out of date, so we'll make sure that the updated versions are in here, but we would love to get feedback from the community, regardless of your level of experience with PWA Studio, on kind of both of these overviews. So the issue number is 1212. I'll make sure that I post it in the community Slack channel and with the updated versions. But if you're in GitHub right now or on our ZenHub board, please feel free to go in there. Tell us what you think about it. Tell us if it helps at all, and especially if you're newer to the project, we'd love the feedback. Got anything to add there, Mr. Cochran?
I mean, if you don't want to post your feedback publicly, Slack me privately in the Slack channel. Yeah.
Any questions, thoughts around that by anybody?
I think it's good. I think it's important to, I think this is a big step in making it easier, not only for, external consumers to see what it is we're building, but for ourselves and for the community and as a group of developers. What are we building? How are we building it? How do the different pieces fit together? Because, some of these things are a little bit esoteric, like, Upward and, the nature of Venia versus Peregrine. So I think this is the first step towards driving that understanding, which I think is going to be really important as we continue to iterate. So yeah, I really dig these diagrams.
Yeah, and the project is a library, and libraries of multiple pieces. So this is going to help identify where those pieces fit in the developer workflow or the shopper experience.
Exactly. Yeah, and capturing it visually helps us, I think, just understand, perhaps weaknesses too of the architecture and design, and enables us to, earmark areas for improvement too. So it's anytime you can make something like this visual, I think there's nothing but good that can come out of it. So thanks for the work on that, guys.
So again, shortly after this meeting, we'll make sure that the updated, we've made some updates, so we'll make sure that the updated versions are in this issue. And then we'd love the feedback. All right. So next up, well, before I think we talk about help wanted tickets, are there any demos or talking points anybody on the call wants to cover before we move on to the next thing? No? All right. So for help wanted tickets, obviously we've been talking about this for the last few weeks. We're trying to make sure that as we move forward, we're labeling things with help wanted that we would love contribution on from the community. There have been a few bugs that we hadn't ready to start that the team has picked up, but obviously if you're looking for something to help, we in our forward grooming column on our ZenHub board, which everyone has access to, when you filter by help wanted, you'll see that there's a few items regarding Peregrine. Again, there's some bug work, and then there's some additional feature work that we're looking for contribution on. Feel free to also, you can look at the rest of our backlog, and by no means are you limited if you're a community developer to just the things we're asking for help on. But if you have any other questions or would like to contribute on any of these items, feel free to communicate with the team on the community Slack channel. We can help guide you there, and then of course we still welcome all the rest of the contributions we're getting across the board. I won't go through all of these items one by one today, so feel free, if you're on the call, to look through our help wanted labeled issues. Any questions? We're good? You guys got anything to add? Jimmy, do you have anything to add? I think I saw you on the line.
Oh, sorry, muted. No.
Hi, Jimmy. All right. So then I think the last item, there was a question about GraphQL from Martin. Martin, are you on the line?
Yep, I'm online.
So if you'd like to rehash that question, I think for the group, I saw it briefly right before the meeting in the GraphQL channel, but I think Craig may be able to weigh in here, seeing as how he is the engineering manager for both the GraphQL and the PWA team. It's probably a good question to have with him here.
Yeah, what's going on, Martin?
Hi. So basically, there's an example on the docs site with the filtering, and if I do a graph and then I just filter on the category ID, I obviously get this SKUs in that category, but I also get all the filters such as category, price, some of my custom attributes as well, manufacturer and so forth. But the items count, that comes from the full catalog, so it's not really correspondent to what I filtered on. It doesn't match the products I got as a result. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so let me take a look. So it's basically you initiate a custom filter, but you're not actually getting what you've chosen to filter by.
No, I'm talking about the new, well, I don't know how new it is, but it's basically, it's not filter, it's filters, where you have name, filter underscore items count, request var, filter items, and then you get the label, value string, and items count.
Okay.
But that's not relevant to what I in the header filtered on. I think I posted an example on Slack in the GraphQL.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, in looking at the details of your question in the Slack channel, Mark, I think this is going to be a better question for the GraphQL team, maybe Chris.
Yeah, I can sync up with Chris after this meeting and try to dig in. I'm not sure if he's seen this yet.
No, I posted it my morning, so.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so
I'll follow up.
So I mean, and then the second question there, I think it's understandable anyway, but you can only filter on attributes, I think it's only manufacturer and obviously price and so forth. But for custom attributes, you're not able to filter in the header.
Yeah, I'm not.
Right, you have to get, I think, all of them is the only way to get them at the moment.
I think I have to check to see if that's something that we're planning on working on next, but I don't think that's actually.
So I mean, this was obviously the question on on the last meeting. There was a help request on building a layered navigation, and I don't feel, in my opinion, that it's possible at the moment. So that's why I'm asking the questions.
Okay. Yeah, Martin, I will meet with the team and follow up with you today.
Grand. Thanks.
Yeah, Adrian has had a pull request up for a while working on UI for layered navigation, including some query changes, but the actual GraphQL bits necessary to have that be functional are not there. So it's really just UI until that GraphQL functionality comes down.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that came up in that, like Jimmy pointed out, I think it's definitely something that came up on that PR from Adrian on filters. We have talked about this before, so we just need to make sure that with the GraphQL team, we prioritize this kind of feature work or enhancement work, right? So we'll follow up on that, Martin. We'll get you a kind of response or a quick summary back on your question in the Slack channel. But other than that, do we have anything else anyone else on the line that has questions or comments? All right, then. Light meeting today. So I think that's it. We need to come up with a phrase to end the meeting, but other than that, onwards and upwards.
Bada bing, bada boom.
All right, thanks everyone.
Onwards and upwards.